everyone, I'm Allison Kukufka, and I'm really excited to share my capstone project with you, data-driven behavior tracking using TallyFlex for student success. As a third grade teacher, I know how important it is to track student behavior, especially when it comes to supporting students through MTSS, IEPs, and 504 plans. But I also know how overwhelming it can be to figure out how to track behaviors effectively while juggling everything else. So that's where this project comes in. I created this website as a practical, user-friendly guide for educators who want to use TallyFlex, which is a behavior tracking tool that helped me bring more structure and intention to my data collection. Whether you're new to behavior tracking or just looking to streamline your process, this site is designed to walk you through it step by step. The idea behind the design was to make it feel approachable and helpful, not like one more thing on your plate. I followed the ADDIE model to structure the project and used backward design to start with the end goal of helping teachers feel confident in collecting and using behavior data. I also leaned into constructivist learning, knowing that we learn best when we're actually doing. So I included walkthrough videos, practical scenarios, and downloadable resources to make everything as hands-on as possible. I was also really influenced by research that emphasized the need for tools that actually work in real classrooms. One article that stuck with me was by Fantuzzo and Atkins. They talk about how shifting from experimenter-centered models to teacher-centered tools would be beneficial, and that's exactly what I wanted this project to be. So with that, I'd love to walk you through the site and show you what I have built. So when you jump into the website, you are brought immediately to this homepage, and it is truly just a resource overview, telling you what the resource is, what it is designed around, what it's going to be including, and some learning goals, the things that you are going to be able to do or learn throughout the resource. It also will have a video that goes through the resource as well, and at the bottom it has the feedback form so that any user can give feedback to make any suggestions or edits that they find, or if they see anything that's not working. That way I can keep the resource as up to date as possible. So then I go over to this Start tab, and I really wanted it to start from the baseline, which is adding the app to your phone and getting it set up. So I included a step-by-step guide on how to set up their account, starting with downloading the app, making their account. And then I also included these two steps because these two steps are going to be very important, but I included this as a very important ethical piece. When they're adding a student, I want them to make sure that they are not using students' real names, because we don't want to use PII in an app where people could go in and see the names. So I asked for them to use pseudonym or initials. And also at the bottom just says that steps 3 and 4 are going to be included in a video walkthrough on the next page. So then they are going to go over to setup, and this is where they are setting up those two pieces, the students and behaviors, and then starting their first session. So I included a video. It's a screen recording walkthrough that just goes through how to add a student to their app, as well as add the behaviors to each individual student. I'm going to play just a quick snippet of it for you just so you can see how it works within the website. All right, you now have set up your account, and you are going to be going in and adding your students and their behaviors to your tracking app. You are going to be brought, when you open the app and put in your passcode, to this calendar. And this is going to be where you're going to be able to see previous days that you have recorded sessions for students, and any sessions that you've done that day. I'm going to go and click on students at the bottom, and I'm going to be brought to my students page. You'll see that I already have a student put in here, but I have his initials put in, not his full name. And this is super important because we want to be respectful of student privacy. If someone were by chance to get into here, we wouldn't want them to see a student's full name. I'm going to go ahead and add a student, and I'm going to put his initials in. And once I've put in his initials, I'm going to click add behavior. And this is going to bring me. So as you see, it's just a quick step-by-step walkthrough on adding the students. I talk about important pieces like that ethical piece of protected student information. And then I scroll down a little bit and it's giving me just an overview of some of the important pieces that we find within the app. So the categories of behavior, the methods that we're going to be using, the real-time data collection, data visualization, being able to see the data after you have done it, and then also the progress monitoring and the ability to export the data. And it just gives me a why this is useful. And then this is the next video walkthrough. It is starting a session. So once you have added the student and added their behavior into your app, it goes through how you actually use the app to track the behavior that you put into the app. So this is another video walkthrough. And one thing that I really needed to think about when doing the video walkthroughs was the other ethical piece of, am I using this under fair use for copyright? Because I am putting information directly from Tallyflix. This is an app that belongs to Tallyflix. So making sure that I'm using this just for educational purposes, not using it for monetary gain. So that was something that I also had to keep in mind as I was using some of these screenshots and screen recordings. So now that they have added these students and their behaviors into their app, this was all about setting up their app and getting their app set up. So now this is about the uses in their classroom. And it really depends on the outcome that each teacher is looking to get. So I talked about different types of behavior. So there's negative behavior. These are the behaviors we don't want to be seeing versus the positive behaviors. These are the things that we want to be encouraging. So, and then it talked about what it means to be decreasing negative behaviors and increasing positive behaviors. And then the big thing is that there are several different types of ways to track a student's behavior, and it really depends on what behavior you are monitoring. So the 6 methods are duration, frequency, latency, percent correct, partial interval, and whole interval. And so each of these is its own screen recording where it just has what is actually in the app and their explanations of each of these in the app. And then I talk a little bit about how to use each one. So I will give you a quick one. We'll do duration real fast. And it's only 35 seconds. They're all quick. Duration tracking is used when you want to know how long a behavior lasts. This is great for behaviors that have a clear start and end point. For example, how long a student stays on task, how long a tantrum lasts, or how long they're out of their seat. To use duration tracking, you'll start a timer when the behavior begins and stop it when the behavior ends. This helps you identify patterns and monitor progress over time. If you're trying to increase or decrease the length of a behavior, this is the method for you. And each one just is doing something very similar where it's talking about what it is, how to use it, what kind of behaviors you might be monitoring with that type of method, and the benefit of it. And then it goes into this questionnaire where it's giving them a scenario and asking them to decide which tracking method they would use. So the question is, you want to track how long a student spends out of their seat during independent work time. So I might say, percent correct, and hit next. It'll actually bounce me right back to that question and say, nope, that's not it. So then I click duration and hit next, and it'll actually bring me to the next scenario. So that is, there's 6 scenarios, and it follows the 6 different tracking methods. So now that they have kind of looked at the different methods of tracking more in depth from what they did in the previous page, we go to the uses. So why are we even tracking all of this behavior data? Why are we collecting this data? What are we going to use it for? So this page goes over using the data. And I have another video walkthrough where it teaches them how to export the data from the app, which brings us to a beautiful Excel spreadsheet, and it has all of the data that we have collected for a student. And then we have a sample report I need to include that, but there's going to be a sample report, and it talks about the information that is included and what you need to think about when you are looking at that sample report. I also include a help page, which is just troubleshooting and best practices, so mistakes to avoid, ways to include this into your daily routine to make it less overwhelming or a little bit easier to include, and some frequently asked questions. Then I also have a resources and downloads page. So I created a tracking methods cheat sheet. So this actually is going to be, it forces you to make a copy. So that way they're not editing the original document. So this just gives you like the 6 different methods of tracking and what it's used for, best for, and how to use it. Then this is a meeting prep checklist. So if you're going into an MTSS meeting and you're going to be presenting the data from TallyFlex, these are just some things to make sure you're doing. And then I also have a reinforcement strategies cheat sheet. So again, making a copy. This will teach them types of reinforcement, examples of reinforcers, some best practices when you are doing reinforcers, and the different schedules of reinforcement. So when you're first starting out, you're going to want to have a continuous reinforcement schedule versus when you're starting to maintain a behavior, you've shaped the behavior, you would move to a more intermittent schedule. I also have some professional development links, some articles that I want people to be able to read, and I also included that interactive feedback again as well that was on that opening page. That way they can see it again at the end. I also included a Meet the Creator, just a little bit about me, where I come from, my experience, why I created this project, and some fun facts about me, just so people can get to know me. This was an incredible experience. It took me on several different paths. I ended up down one path and changed a couple weeks in and adjusted just because I was initially going to make an app from scratch, but I am not great with programming. So I quickly adapted and found an app that I really loved and then created this how to use website. I'm very excited for you to come to the Zoom session on Wednesday and look forward to hearing some feedback so that I can continue to improve this site. The goal is to keep this as a continuously changing and evolving website. I also have my school principal, who is wanting me to implement this or at least start this with our MTSS coordinator in our building. So there is room and opportunity there. So I'm really excited to see how this ends up evolving and can't wait to see everybody else's. Thank you so much and have a great night.